one of my favorite quotes I got from a guy. His name is Dr. Wayne Dyer. And so he said, one day he was reading this book. It's about this guy named Ivan Illich. And Ivan Illich, basically the story of Ivan Illich's life was, let's see if this works. The story of Ivan Illich's life was that he went out and did everything that he was supposed to do. He became a successful lawyer, married the woman that his family wanted him to marry, lived his whole life, and then when he turned 45, he got really, really sick. And he realized that he never really went into a profession that he loved to do. He just did what was expected of him. He started realizing that he actually, and this sounds terrible, but he didn't like his wife. He didn't even like his kids very much. He hated them all, to be honest. And so he sat on his bed, and on his deathbed, right before he died at 45, he thought, what if his whole life was a mistake? And when Dr. Wayne Dyer read that, he wrote himself a note. So I can go back here. And he said, Wayne, don't die with your music still in you. And so do you guys kind of get what that means? Each one of us has a purpose in life. Every single one of you, just like myself, just like Jonathan, was born to do something. I mean, everybody's good at something. What are you good at?
I like playing guitar.
So Joel's a musician. He's good. What are you good at? Drawing? So you love to draw. All right, awesome. What are you good at? Talking? I'm better at listening than talking. And so, one of the things as kids that you guys are going to come up against is, and you guys over there, what you guys are going to come up against, are you guys already hearing this already now from everybody around you? What are you going to do with your life? What are you going to be? So what are you going to be with your life?
Inventor/space explorer.
Okay, well that's good. What are you going to be?
Animation/video game design.
But do you find it ironic that people are asking, how old are you?
15.
So you've been on this planet for 15 years, and do you find it ironic that people are already asking you what you're going to do with the other 75 of it already?
Yes.
And I'm not trying to get the moms in trouble here, I promise. It's not my screen. But this happens to everybody. So what are you going to do? What are you going to be? You're getting the pressure on being a doctor, being a lawyer, something successful. I have a different suggestion. We have plenty of doctors, unless you really want to be a doctor or really want to be a lawyer. I have a whole different suggestion. This is the best thing I can possibly. Why not be you? So there's probably 1,000 singers out there, and if I went to one of you and said, hey, you're going to be a singer, and that's not what you really cared about, would you want to go be a singer? If I said, hey, I want you to be a doctor, would you really care about being a doctor? No, there's plenty of people out there that are going to go do that. So in life, I want to see what you turn out to be. You have a responsibility to actually take the gifts that were given you. Joel has a responsibility that if he's a great guitar player and you're a great artist and you like to talk, then you should go out and do that. I know her dad saying, no, she shouldn't be talking. So, Nelson Mandela said there's no passion to be found in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. So I look at this as we've all been given gifts, and if you fall short of those gifts and you don't use those gifts to do what you were meant to do, you're actually robbing society, you're robbing the world, and you're robbing yourself of what you were meant to do. So when you take the easy way out, that's what happens when you don't do. So let me ask you guys, so this is a perfect example. So getting to my first point. How many of you guys have ever heard of Mansa Musa? You have? You guys have? Who is he?
Well, he increased the value of gold in Egypt by 30%.
Right. But what is he most famous for?
He was the king of an African kingdom.
He was the king of Mali. Do you know that, have anybody else heard of his name? This is the richest man who's ever lived on this planet. This man was worth $400 billion in today's money. Does anybody know how much the richest man today is worth? Bill Gates? About 80 billion. So who can do the math? How many more times richer was he? So carry the one. See, I like having young kids that are still doing math. I can't do that in my head anymore. So he's 5 times richer than the richest man that currently lives today. Did you know that in 1905, they found a plaque in Egypt, not far from where he's from, that actually was him communicating from the dead to let the rest of us know that all the money he made, that $400 billion, was serving him really well in the afterlife. Did you guys hear about that? It was on Discovery Channel a few weeks ago. You did? That's a lie, because it never happened. Because you don't take any of that money with you. So you can go out and become a doctor or a singer or something else, something that somebody else wants you to do for money, not because you're really passionate about it, and it won't matter because you're not going to take a cent of that money with you. The second you are dead, it all stays here. So you can build all the greatest pyramids or mosques like this one, and none of it's really going to matter. So that's what I get to talking to people about their passion and their purpose. So what you want to think about is doing something you love, not just for yourself, but you owe it to the rest of the world to do what you love and what you're passionate about. So let me ask you, so Pilar, I'm picking on you. If money were no object, and you could do everything all day, and shopping and going to bars, Jonathan doesn't count, but if you could do anything you wanted, what would you do for free all day? Raise a bunch of can I say shih tzus in front of kids? Okay. I just don't want them saying that I cursed at Dreamweek. So you would do that for free. So that's what you should be doing. And you said you draw like crazy, right? Does somebody have to, does you guys have? Uncle, does he have to pay you to draw? Does he have to twist your arm to draw? No. You do it why? Why do you draw? Yeah, and you love to do it, right? It ignites a fire in your soul. Now, if I went to you and I said, okay, I want you to go into my checkbook and balance my checkbook for you. I want you to add all the numbers and tell me whether I'm positive or negative. Can you do that every month for you, and I'll give you $1,000? Would that interest you very much? Exactly. Well, that's what you guys are going to be challenged with throughout your lives. And there are plenty of people that are going to go out there and do accounting and do those other things, but I don't think anybody in this room should be one of those people, because if you were brave enough to come here, I think you've got a different agenda. So, have any of you guys ever heard of wingsuit flying? Yeah. Yes. Have you ever heard of Jeb Corliss? So Jeb Corliss is the tall guy standing next to me on the right there. Last year, my company, my old company that I ran, we had him come out and give a talk to all of our people in San Diego. And Jeb Corliss is a really interesting guy. So if you haven't ever seen wingsuit flying, I'm going to show you a little bit and a little bit of what his interview he did with HBO Sports. And I'm hoping you're going to be able to hear it. So
then there was the little stunt he pulled in China last summer, where he didn't fly over or next to a mountain, he flew through one. The first person on record to do so. National TV. Are you crazy?
By some people's perspective, I am. But my concept of what crazy is very different.
What's your concept of crazy?
Well,
this isn't. I want to know what is.
To me, crazy is waking up at 6 a.m., getting in a car, sitting in traffic for an hour and a half on your way to a job, where you then sit in a box for 8 hours, then finish that job, eat some dinner, watch some TV, go to sleep, and then repeat that process for 60 years, retire, and then die. I think that's completely and absolutely insane.
And so what I love when we talk to Jeb about this is that if you think about it, most people look at what he does. He literally jumps out of an airplane with a wingsuit and flies through some of the most dangerous things on the planet, and everybody thinks he's crazy for doing that. Now, Jeb Corliss is the interesting thing he told me when he was talking about what he did with the wingsuit flying. He did this, what he started with actually was deep sea diving with sharks, and he practiced for 17 years, and he did it just because he loved it. Then he started parachuting, and he just loved it. Now, he made zero money parachuting. He never made a dime parachuting. He did it for 15 years and then helped develop wingsuit flying. And he started wingsuit flying. Now, did he do it because he was making money? Not a dime. Who would pay anybody to jump out of an airplane every day in a wingsuit and fly through weird holes around? I mean, I don't know anybody who would, but what he said, I'm going to follow my passion and the money is going to come. And so he spent close to 30 years of his life doing something that never made him any money. And then Red Bull came along and sponsored him as an athlete. Now, I don't know, have you guys seen the new Point Break movie that has come out? And it's got all these wingsuit flying scenes? He was a technical director for that movie. And so now Jeb makes an absolute fortune all year round. jumping out of planes, flying into things, doing what he loves. So what I'm encouraging you kids to do is, don't go out there and pursue things just for the money. Find out what you love, do it to the best of your ability, plan, execute, do all that to the best of your ability, and the money will come. But more importantly, the happiness will come. Because what a lot of people have found, and you can ask people in this room, you can make a lot of money, and you think that it's going to make you happy. But actually, at the end of the day, all the stuff, it doesn't really make you happy. I was like Jonathan. I grew up really poor in West Texas. My trailer house had no windows. I wasn't supposed to go anywhere. None of us were supposed to ever become anything. And I remember when my wife and I, a few years ago, we bought my first brand new pickup. And it was a fully loaded Nissan Titan. I remember it was my first brand new car that I was going to own. I was going to drive to work every day. Now my son has it, destroys it, so it's all right. But I remember thinking, if I get this truck and I drive this home and we're signing all the paperwork, I'm going to be the happiest person in the world. My first new vehicle, I mean, I'm an adult, it's a big, expensive truck. And so we didn't negotiate on the fees or anything, and so we ended up getting an absolute crazy truck payment. It was like $700 a month. And my previous vehicle was a Jeep that I owned that worked perfectly good. I paid it off, I didn't pay anything, it was great. So, but I thought this truck is going to be the end-all be-all. I've waited my whole life to own a brand new vehicle like this. So week 1, it was great. Week 2, it was great. Week 3, it was great. About midway through week 4, I was like, I forgot I was even driving a new truck. It got me from one place to the other. It wasn't that big of a deal. And then my first payment slip came for $700. And I was like, okay, well, this isn't so great anymore. I was just as happy in the old vehicle. The whole new thing that I thought was going to be the end-all be-all didn't make me any happier. I mean, it was just as dependable as the other one. And so you start to realize that you keep thinking, well, if I achieve this level of money or this level of money, I'm going to be happy. And that's not where it comes. It comes in doing something that you were called to do, finding your passion and your purpose. Now, one of the things that Jonathan talked about, and it's incredibly important, is all about your outlook. So it's literally, and this is another one of my favorite quotes, when you change the way you look at things, whether they're possible or not, the situation of your life, the way you look at them, those things that you look at actually change. So it's all about mindset. If you believe that you can do something, you can do it. If you believe that you can't do it, you won't be able to do it. So this is a guy that I'm really fond of. So that's my dad. And so we have the same chest. No, this is a guy named Wim Hof. Have any of you guys ever heard of Wim Hof? You young kids haven't heard of him? He's all the rage these days. He's the Iceman. See, you would know about him. So Wim Hof, what he does is through breathing techniques alone, this guy can withstand any cold for longer than anybody. He has 20 world records for sitting in ice baths doing crazy things. That guy right there, has anybody seen the new Everest movie? Well, everybody knows that the tallest mountain in the world is Everest and how cold it is. This guy, most people have to bundle up, use oxygen, all these other things. This guy climbed Everest to 22,000 feet wearing exactly what he's wearing in that picture. He didn't die, his body temperature didn't even drop 1 degree. And he did it all through breathing and through mind control. And for 20 years, Wim Hof has been around in the Netherlands, and people said he was an absolute quack, that he was crazy, he couldn't do these things. He said, I can control when I get sick, if I don't get sick. And so finally, just last year, they did studies with him at a university in Holland. And they actually injected him with an endotoxin. And so basically it mimics putting a deadly virus in your body. You get fever, all these things, but you won't actually die. And he said, I guarantee my body temperature won't rise, I won't get a fever, won't get a headache, all that. They hooked him up to everything. They injected him with the endotoxin. He did his breathing technique and nothing happened to him. He was able to control the reaction of his body simply through his mind. And even better than that, he said, this isn't some magic trick that I have some special capability because I was born with better DNA. He said, I'll take all 12 of you people doing the test on me. I'm going to teach you my breathing technique and all this and what I'm doing in over 10 days. And then we're going to come back and you're going to get injected with the same thing. And so they did it. They all did his breathing course for 10 days. And they came back and injected themselves with endotoxins in the hospital under supervision, and all of them were able to do exactly what he did. And it's all through the controlled use of your mind and your mindset. If you believe you can do it, you can do it. And so that's the second point. And the last point on this one, and this one is going to be a little bit over your heads for the kids, but you'll understand in a second. So have any of you heard of quantum mechanics? or the theory, or general relativity. So there are two, in science, there are two big debates going on right now. There's two things that govern how we understand the universe. One is quantum mechanics, and that's the study of things at an infinitesimally small level, like inside your atoms and neutrons and protons and all that. And the other is general relativity, the study of the whole universe, things on an incredibly large scale. So when you study quantum mechanics, things at the very smallest level, when you take electron microscopes and you zoom in on the smallest possible things we can see within the universe, which they're called quarks, the simple act of observing those quarks, just by the fact that you're looking at them, their behavior changes. So by the fact that you're looking at them and observing them, they're doing one thing, but if you look away, they start doing another thing. But if you look at them, they start doing, and nobody can explain it. So I actually found this video a couple days ago that actually explains it. And for the first part, it's just a little 5-minute video. For the first part, it might seem a little bit, what's he talking about? But then you'll see in just a second exactly the point.
And here we are, the granddaddy of all quantum weirdness, the infamous double-slit experiment. To understand this experiment, we first need to see how particles, or little balls of matter, act. If we randomly shoot a small object, say a marble, at the screen, we see a pattern on the back wall where they went through the slit and hit. Now, if we add a second slit, we would expect to see a second band duplicated to the right. Now, let's look at waves. The waves hit the slit and radiate out, striking the back wall with the most intensity directly in line with the slit. The line of brightness on the back screen shows that intensity. This is similar to the line the marbles make. But when we add the second slit, something different happens. If the top of one wave meets the bottom of another wave, they cancel each other out. So now there is an interference pattern on the back wall. Places where the two tops meet are the highest intensity, the bright lines, and where they cancel, there is nothing. So when we throw things, that is matter, through two slits, we get this, two bands of hits. And with waves, we get an interference pattern of many bands. Good so far. Now, let's go